Space, the ultimate boundary. These are the expeditions of the starship Acadia. Its 8-year objective: to investigate unfamiliar planets, to discover novel life and civilizations, and to fearlessly venture into uncharted territories. The Romulans were created by writer Paul Schneider for the 1966 Star Trek episode Balance of Terror. They were based off of the idea of what if the Roman Empire had never fallen and now had access to spacecraft. And they appeared again in the second season episode The Deadly Years, in which only their ship appears, and finally in the third season episode The Enterprise Incident, in which Spock seduces a Romulan commander while Kirk poses as a Romulan officer to steal her ship's cloaking device. Now, the reason that they made so few appearances was because the makeup required became too expensive and time-consuming, so the Romulans became largely overshadowed by the Klingons, who were ready to go after only a liberal shellacking of shoe polish. Now, to further bypass the cost of expensive ear prosthetics, Romulan actors were given helmets to wear. Now, interestingly, the Romulans had copper instead of iron in their blood. Would that be Cooper globin? And their hearts were gray. And with their secretive nature, their lifestyle was somewhat opaque, but it is known that they brewed a highly intoxicating Romulan ale that was blue in color and highly desired by members of the Federation. Romulans are humanoids originating from the planet Romulus, and they're known for their cunning, secrecy, and adversarial relations with other civilizations, especially the United Federation of Planets. It was speculated that they shared a common ancestry with Vulcans, and like Vulcans they possessed pointed ears and arched eyebrows, as well as impressive strength, intelligence, and constitution. But where the Vulcans ended up being a peaceful, stoic, and philosophical culture, the Romulans were much more mercurial and warlike. Now, unlike the more brute Klingons, the Romulans were presented as more complex adversaries, given to cunning, espionage, and manipulation over simple physical force. And their motivations were often inscrutable and mysterious. They typically felt an arrogant superiority over other races, and were presented in the Star Trek lore as these Machiavellian empire builders. If the Klingons were a stand-in for the Russians in the 1950s and 60s, the Romulans served as more of a representation of Maoist China. Now, the Romulans were generally xenophobic and isolationist in nature, outside of constant friction with their Vulcan cousins. They did, however, engage in a bloody war with Earth. However, they did remain a mysterious foe during this time because they had no face-to-face interactions with humanity. And their mysterious nature was compounded by the fact that their ships, the infamous birds of prey, often used cloaking technology to conceal their presence before attacking Federation outposts. Now, the war with humanity ended when a neutral zone was established between the two adversaries, though both sides did make an occasional military incursion into the zone when they could get away with it. Now, the Romulan ships, the birds of prey, were designed with a sole saucer-shaped primary hull configuration with 2 attached nacelles, and the aft of the ship was designed with a raised fin. They were gray in color with their namesake bird design painted on the hull. This bird of prey and other bird symbols are often associated with the Romulans. Now, power for the ships was through simple impulse engines, and while the ships had powerful disruptors and plasma torpedoes, they did consume a vast amount of energy to maintain the cloaking fields. And in addition to this, the ships carried a number of old-school nuclear warheads for the purpose of self-destruction. And though not attached to a delivery mechanism, they could be fitted with proximity fuses and used as makeshift mines. With these combined abilities, the bird of prey relied on stealth to move in undetected and unchallenged and make a surprise attack on their foes. So this week we're going to talk about Scenario 5. And in this scenario, you're going to begin to learn about damage allocation. Up to this point, you have, within certain restrictions, scored damage on ships anywhere that you choose. But from now on, specific damage will be determined and allocated to specific areas and systems on the target ship. Now, once damage points penetrate the shields, any further damage has to be distributed among the interior systems of the ship using the Cadet damage allocation chart. And you can use more complex damage allocation charts with the more advanced games. The procedure for this is pretty simple. First, you determine the number of damage points in a volley that have penetrated a shield. And for each damage point of the volley, you roll a single die and find the resulting number on the die roll column of the Cadet damage allocation chart. You look across to the right of the die roll result and you note the system listed in column A. Now normally each damage point in question is scored against one box of that type. Now if there are no remaining boxes of that type on the target ship's SSD, or there never were any, you move one column to the right and score the damage points against the system ship in column B. And if there are no remaining boxes of the system type listed in column B, you move on to column C and so on. Now the last column is the excess damage column, and that's damage which destroys the physical structure of the ship and eventually the ship itself. Now on the cadet damage allocation chart, many of the systems are grouped into 4 categories, and the player can select a box from any system within that category. And the categories include first the hull, which includes the hull boxes on the SSD, the engines, which are scored on either impulse or warp engines, the weapons, which can be scored on phasers, photon torpedoes, plasma torpedoes, disruptors, fusion beams, plasmatic pulsar devices, expanding sphere generators, and drone racks. There's an other category, and this can be scored against the transporters, the lab, the auxiliary power reactors, the batteries, and the shuttles. And also we have the excess damage track, which we've talked about. Now note that the bridge and security boxes can't be destroyed in the cadet game. When there's no excess damage boxes remaining and one additional excess damage hit is scored, then the ship is destroyed. And at the instant of destruction, the ship is removed from the game, all personnel on board are assumed to have perished, and all drones on the map that were guided by that ship lose their tracking guidance and they're removed. Now, self-guiding weapons, that is plasma torpedoes, are not affected by the destruction of the ship that launched them, and they continue to follow their targets without external guidance. And this is sometimes known as the Romulan revenge. So let's give an example of shield operation and damage allocation. So during the second impulse of the second turn, the Klingon D6 battlecruiser Destruction is struck on its number 2 shield with 2 damage points of long-range phaser fire. And these points reduce that shield from 12 boxes to 10. Now during the fourth impulse, a photon torpedo scores a hit on the number 1 shield. And as the photon torpedo causes 8 points of damage, this reduces the front shield from 16 boxes to 8. Finally, during the 8th impulse, a second Federation cruiser has closed 3 hexes away and is directly ahead. And both photon torpedoes are fired, but only one hits for 8 points of damage. And the 3 phasers score an additional 13 points of damage, and these 21 points of damage are scored as follows. The first 8 points are scored on the forward shield, which destroys it, and the remaining 13 are scored on the interior systems. And so we go through the damage allocation chart and we find the following. The first hit rolls a 2, which hits the hull, which is one of the forward boxes. The second hit rolls a 6, which is other, and the player chooses the lab. The third hit is a 5, and that's a weapon, and the player chooses the right rear phaser. The fourth hit is a 3, and that's an engine, and the player chooses one impulse box. The fifth hit is a 4, and that's a shuttle bay, and that's an other when the player chooses the shuttle bay. The sixth hit is a 2, and that's another hull hit, and that's the second forward box. The seventh is a 5, which is a weapon. The player chooses the drone rack. The 8th is a 1, that's a hull hit, which is one of the rear boxes. The 9th is a 3, which is an engine. This is the second impulse box. The 10 is a 1, another hull hit for the second rear box. Hit number 11 is a 3, and that's the engine, and 1 box is from the left engine. The 12th hit is a 1, which is another hull hit. And as there's no more hull, you move to the right, which says engine. And so the hit is scored on the right warp engine. And the final 13th hit is a 3, which is an engine hit, and the player chooses the second box from the right warp engine. So in review, there are 6 things in this scenario to remember. The first is that all damage points in an impulse are a single volley. Second, for each damage point, roll a d6 on the damage table to see where it lands. And third, once an area has been destroyed, you move to the next column on the damage table. Fourth, hits can never affect a bridge or security of a ship. They can affect all the other points, but not those 2. Fifth, once all of the excess damage boxes are filled, the next internal hit on the ship will be the one that destroys it. And finally, when a ship is destroyed, drones fired by that ship are also destroyed, but any plasma torpedoes are not. Now let's go on to the cadet scenario number 5, which is encounter. And when 2 powers claim the same territory, it's usually only a matter of time before they send starships to enforce their claim. Now this leads to an inevitable encounter where one side attempts to drive the other out of the territory. And in Starfleet battles, this usually involves a classic single-ship duel, which is shown in this scenario. To set this up, you place the Klingon ship in hex 0216 facing B, and the Federation ship in hex 2801 facing E. For the purposes of the acceleration limits, both ships are moving at speed of 16 on the turn before the scenario begins. And the scenario will play out until one ship has either been destroyed or voluntarily left the map. In this scenario, I'll be using a robot ship and it can't retreat. You'll have to destroy it. Now, except in wartime, when the destruction of ships is important to the long-term war effort, most races will allow a damaged ship to leave the map. The Klingons usually do this to avoid further damage to their own ship, and the Federation does it for more noble reasons. Now, either player can, at the end of an impulse, simply announce that they're disengaging, and the scenario is over. So I'm back with Scenario 5, in which I'm going to take on a Klingon cruiser. And this one actually is a bit of a challenge. It's also the point where we're beginning to see how complex the game can get. And even though this is pretty simple, I've got a lot of the basic mechanisms and in action here. So you're going to actually start to see how things really fit together. I got my little Klingon down here, and I've pulled my 4 drones out just to have them ready to go when I start playing. And then my Federation ship is up here. Now my Klingons are going to be moving. Now I said they have a move of 16. Actually, they're going to have a move of 12. When you do the math for everything to keep the disruptors powered, to keep 3 phasers, it's going to come out to be 12. So I'll always keep them going at 12 until they start to lose some power due to engine damage. Now my Federation ship, let me pull my... I use these data forms. I really haven't got used to using the pre-printed energy allocation form yet, so I just use this. I'll probably end up eventually using that one, but so far this has been working pretty well for me. Now, I set my warp at 16 and my impulse at 2, atomic powers at 2, so that gives me 20. I've got 2 points in batteries, and out of that I'm going to charge my first photon with 2 power points, so it can be fireable on turn 2. And then I went ahead and had used my 3, I put 3 powers in on my phasers. I don't think I'm going to fire all phasers or have a chance to fire all phasers in the first turn. So I went ahead with that. And that gave me a maximum movement of 15 when you do all the maths. I'd see that'd be 20 plus, or 20 minus 5. 20 minus 3 minus 2 for my weapons, so that'd be 5. My batteries are charged, so we're good on that. And I'm going to try to just use a photon on alternating turns here. We'll see how that goes. Okay, we are ready to go. So I've got my impulse, I've got my Federation ship set at 15, I've got my Klingon set at 12, and I start the first turn. Now, or the first impulse, I always say that. First impulse, and I'm going to move. That's the first thing I can... No, I can't move. Let's go back here. Reason being is that we have an impulse of a speed of 15 for the Federation, 12 for the Klingons, and you'll see there's little dashes in there, so neither can move. But the Klingons can go ahead and fire their first drone. So I'm going to do that. We'll mark him on the drone rack. Where you at? Having some problems here. Okay. Now we can go to turn or impulse 2, and we start with the drone. He's moving at 16, and let's move him to the right. And then the Klingons are going to go, they can go forward, and my Federation ship up here can go forward. Now they seem a long ways off, but they'll close in pretty fast. Okay, now we go to 3. And in this case, everybody can move. So I'll start with my Federation. I move the Klingon ship. Actually, the Klingon ship moves first. Doesn't matter because both these guys are going to move. And that would be 3. We go to 4. Okay, again, everybody can move. Let's just move these guys together. And my Federation ship can move. Now we go to 5. Now at this point, the Federation can go and the drone can go, but the Klingons can't because of their speed. So we'll move him forward. That'll make it a little easier to see everything. Okay. We go to 6. Everybody can move. And he can move. Okay, impulse 7. Everybody can again move. Impulse 8. Everybody moves. And impulse 9. Okay, this is another one where the drone can move, and actually the cadet or the Federation should move first, technically, and then the drone can move, but we'll... Is that right? Let's double check that. Let me finish this turn. Or this impulse. Actually, let's finish the impulse. And I gotta check myself here. Let's go to a sequence of play. Graphic, okay. Move seeking weapons, move ships, and then move the seeking weapons. So yeah, that's right. Okay. Go back to 11. All 3 can move. And this guy can move. And then we go to 12. And 12 can move. We go to 13. Okay, in this case, let's put this in the correct order. He can move, and then this guy can move. And the Klingons can't move because of a little dash. Okay, 14. Him can move. He can move. And he can move. Okay. Now, we go to 15. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, lots going to happen here. So let's start with 15. Now, I don't want to go in the same... I want to go forward 1 here, and I want to go forward 1 here. And then I can turn. Okay. Now, I can fire weapons, and let's start with the Federation ship. And looking over here, the Federation can fire Photon 1 in the front half. So yeah, that's in Photon 1 can hit. Or I'm sorry, Phaser 1. And they can also fire with that port phaser here. Port, that other port. Left, front, and left. So that phaser can fire. I've got my rear phasers are strictly on the rear, so they can only go in these hexes out here. So, or I could wait and make one more. Okay, that's what we're going to do. We are going to fire, or we're going to hold off our fire, because I can fire this guy, and this. I can make an extra shot if I wait one turn. Now the robot is programmed to fire automatically, so the Klingons have to fire. They can fire 1 and 2, and they can fire those 2. They can fire both disruptors because they're in the front half. But can they fire these are left rear, right rear, so no, they can't fire those. Okay. So the Klingons are going to fire 2 phasers and 2 disruptors. Let me put that down here, and this is in Impulse 15. Okay. Impulse 15. 15. That's 1 and 2, and then disruptors 15 and 15. Okay. And I make sure I get my thing here. 22, 4, 16. And this should actually be at 4 on the phaser capacitor, I think. So yeah, that's 4, 8, Yeah, they had a move of 12. So where's my move? There. Okay. Yeah, that should be right. So we have 2 disruptors and 2 phaser 2s. So let's do the rolling on that, and I get a... Let's do the disruptors first, or do the phasers first. Okay. Let's see how many hexes. 1, 2, 3 hexes. So at 3 hexes, I get a 4, a 6, and so that's 4 and 6. That's 3 points and 3 points. So 6 points of damage for the phasers. Let me write that down. You'll hear me rattling around with some papers here. And then the disruptors at a range of 3. I got to roll a 1 to 4. They do first one hits, second one hits. Okay, I got lost a little bit there. It's going to come out to 10 points of damage, I think. And so that hits that shield. It doesn't bring the shield down. So I think we're good there. Sometimes I do have a tendency to kind of get lost at where I'm at, but that's where playing with somebody else would certainly help. Just playing this against yourself, you got to keep track of 2-player stuff, and sometimes I get a little bit confused. So apologies on that. Hopefully I still make the point. Okay, that brings me back to these guys have done all everything they need to do. And that brings me down to 16. So at 16, everybody gets to move. So this guy's going to move 1. He's going to move forward here. And this guy fired everything. Now, according to the robot instructions, I can turn to the right, my other right, and forward. Okay. And then I will try to fire those rear, those rear photons. And let's start with the Federation ship. And I'm going to fire, let's pull up my data. So I am going to try to fire phasers. I can fire a rear phaser now. So I'm going to fire rear phaser 2. I'm going to fire 1. No, those are photons. I'm going to fire 1 and 2, and then phaser 3 is a rear phaser, or phaser, yeah. Now phasers 1, 2, and this would be 4, I guess. Okay. Well, that's all I can fire anyway. So we're going to say during 16. 1, 2, and 4. And I'm going to fire 4 at that drone. So let's go ahead and do that first. Phaser type 1 at a drone from 1 hex away should take him out. So 2, and that, yeah, anything's gonna destroy him. So he is deleted. And then I've got 2 phasers I'm firing at the rear. See, and that comes out. I'm going to have to roll a to see whether I go through, which shield I go through. So I'm going to fire 2, and I'm at a range of 3. Phaser type 1. So let's roll them. I get a 2 and a 1. That's pretty good. At a range of 3, 2 is for 6 points, or 5 points, and 1 is for 6. So 11 points. Now, because it goes through on that line there, I'm going to just turn odd or even. So we're going to say odd for here, even for here. And I roll a 1, so it's odd. So it's coming through that rear port, I think. Yeah, rear port right here. So 6 and 5, 11 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I've got 3 points that are going to, I got to roll 3 points for the internal damage. So I'm going to roll, I'll just roll those together. 4, 3, and 1. So those 3 hits and 1. Yeah, I was trying to get that rear shield, but 1 because it's a little bit lighter, but this is okay. Okay, now we're going to use our damage allocation. And we roll the 3, and I get a 2, and that's a hull hit. Come on. Oops. I don't know why sometimes it does not click if you don't hit it just right. Okay, and then the next hit is a... Oh, it was a 3. It's an engine hit. Okay, so my APR, I'm going to... Whoops, wrong guy. APR for the Klingons, and then the 1 was another hull hit. So I'll put my hull hit here, and that should be damage for the turn. Okay, and then the Klingons can fire... Let's see, the Klingons can fire these 2 phasers here. Those are left rear and right rear. And the rear. So these guys can fire... Oh, okay, left. So they can fire just over in that one side. So he's going to fire that left rear. That's a 3. Let's go ahead and mark that off. And phaser 3 on 16. Yeah, we're not going to be able to fire in the first couple rounds for either guy. And this is at a range of 3. And we roll a 3, okay? So 3 and 3. I'll get this out of the way again. There's a lot of pieces to keep track of. So it's 4 points of damage, and it's going to go through again here. Let's see. I think it's going to be an odd or even. So it's going to be one of the left shields will say odds front, evens back. So even. So it goes through the rear left shield. And that was 4 points. 4. Okay, I think I got everybody right here. And that ends the turn. So let's clear this, and we'll change it to turn 2. Whoops. Change label to turn 2. And that's okay, that's that. Let's go through our speeds here. Let's start with the Klingons. Now the Klingons have lost an APR that's been taking damage, so we're going to have to reduce the APR to 1. So I've got 16, I've got 2, I've got 1 for a total power of 19. My disruptors, I'm back to, I'll put 2 in and 2 in. My phasers, I had a phaser capacity of 4, and I used 3 of them, so I still have 1 phaser. So I'm going to go ahead and use my 3, and that should keep me, I think I should still, since I'm using 3, I should still have 12 for move. The one thing I have a hard time keeping track of is what impulse goes to power and which atomic power goes, and that's something I do struggle with. If you have any ways of telling me a better way to handle that and make sense, I would sure appreciate it. Okay, this one we fired in 1, so we can fire our second drone. Our speed's staying the same. Let's go with our cadet cruiser. Everything I think will stay the same here. I'm going to put 2 points here and 2 points. Oh yeah, we got 2 points that we're losing. Okay, so it will change. Okay, we've got a warp of 16, impulse of 2, this of 2, and a total power of 20. And I'm going to use 1 battery. And that will give me 20 minus, or 21 minus 2 and 4. And we'll use 3 again here. Okay, 21 minus 3 is 18, 17, 16, 15, 14. Okay, that's going to give me a speed of 14 this time. So let's change that on our speed table. and I think we're ready to go. Now the cadet, we're going to go ahead and we spend impulse 1. We spend launching the drone, but nothing else happens. Impulse 2 is I've got to go forward on the Klingons. The drone gets to move forward, and the Federation ship is going to turn. And go forward. And let's see if I can fire at that drone. That would be firing with photon or phaser 1 or 2. And let's see when I last fired 1 or 2. So 1 or 2 fired during 16, so they can't fire. How about phaser 3? Now phaser 3 is just a rear phaser, so it can't fire. I could fire my photon torpedo, but I really want to hit this guy with it. So I'm going to do that. Well, I need to get in a situation where I could get those shields that are down, because I'm going to hit that rear shield, I think. Well, map tools, range line of sight. Let's see, range 0. Let's see if that gives you a line of sight. Oh, that's kind of nice. Okay, that's going to go through the rear. Yeah. Oh, you have to use that. Let's see. Gotta think. I don't want to waste it on that, so I'm probably just going to have to get hit. Let's launch my photon torpedo. So we're going to launch it on impulse 2, and we launch it. We'll check the photon table, and we have a 1, 2, 3. Go away. Range of 3. We need a 1 to 4. We get our 2, and that hits for 8 points damage, and that goes through the rear. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So as long as I can stay behind this guy, I can do some damage. But I don't see any way around that drone that's coming at me. I can't do anything else, I don't think. I've got those were fired on 16, so I've got to wait until, was it 4? 16. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 I'd have to wait till on impulse 4. So, okie doke. We go to 3. And at this point, I'm going to move both of my guys. And the drone is going to go forward, and it's going to go through that right rear shield, doing 6 points damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can delete him. Okay. Now, I'm in a pretty good position, though. I can kind of follow this guy and hound him, so. We go to turn 4. And I can turn. Oops, go back. Let's turn to the left and go forward 1. Now the Klingon, who is at... oh, he can move. Okay, he can still move. Oops, and he's not going to... Oh, I'm going to turn to the left and go forward. And now I do have an opportunity to fire now from the Federation Cadet Cruiser. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to fire with phasers 1, 2, and 3. I think I can fire with all 3 of those phasers. Let's go ahead and show our data. Phaser 1, we're doing this during 4, 4, and 4. Okay, so 3 phaser attacks. And those are at a range of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's see, I'll check our... Okay, and that's going to go through the Klingon's shield number 3, I think. Wait, no. That's, I apologize. Let's try that again. Range line of sight. And that would go through shield 5, which is down. So that works fine. Okay. So range of 3, 3 rolls. I get a 6, a 4, and a 2. So at a range of 3, a 6 is 3, a 4 makes 7, and a 2 makes 12 points of damage. So this is going to hurt bad. Okay, let's roll. We got to roll 12 dice here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll 12 times and write them down. Hold on, I can do this. Why didn't I not think of that? I can roll 10. Okay, 4, 8, 8. What? Oh, those are D10s. Okay, I'm learning things here. 1D. Okay, let's just 10d6. There we go. Okay, that was a d10. I didn't know that those were existed. Okay, so we have a 3, 3, 3, 3, 5, 6, 3, 5, 6, 3, 6, 5, 5, 6, 5, 5, and I've got 2 more rolls. Oh, this is going to be deadly. 6 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. This could take the Klingon out. We start with, the first roll was a 3, so that's an engine roll. So we can go towards the APR or the impulse. I'll go impulse. Number 2, another engine roll. I'll just go APR. Next 2 are engine rolls. We'll make it impulse, and at this point I have to go with a warp. Okay, and then I've got a 5, which is a weapon. I need those rear phasers. Okay, the drones are handy. It's like, what do I take? I'll take a disruptor. Okay, a 6 is a APR, AW battery. I'll take the transporter out. A 3 is another engine. Okay, a 6 is another, those miscellaneous. I guess I'll take shuttles. A 5 is a weapon. Okay, at this point, I'll take my other disruptor. Another 5. I'll take a rear phaser. Yeah, let's take a front phaser. A 6 is a miscellaneous. At this point, we'll take the lab. And finally, a 4 is a miscellaneous. And this point, there's nothing left. So we can, oops. Let's see, we have to go with a weapon. We look at the chart here. We'll take phaser 3. Let's take phaser 4. Because I may be able to use a phaser. In fact, I can use a phaser this turn, which will keep it 4. So we need to see what's knocked out. Phaser 1 is knocked out. I'll just put a asterisk there. My disruptors are both knocked out. That was, yeah, that hurt. And then phaser 2 is knocked out. Or no, that's phaser 1, 2. I think it's 3. Oops, disruptor. Phaser 4 is knocked out. Okay, so and I can continue now. I'll continue to move normal until the next turn, but I'm going to go ahead and put this down just in case. Well, actually, no, because we may take some more damage this turn. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, now the Klingons can use the right or the left rear phaser, which is phaser 2, and show data. And we're going to say this is during 4. I've got phaser 3. That's phaser 3. I'm sorry. Okay. And I fire it, and it's a type 2 phaser. So I roll a d6, and I get a 5 at a range of 3. So 3 points of damage, and it's going to go through the front. So 1, 2, 3. I think this should actually just be at 3. I think that 1 was a mistake. Sometimes that happens. Okay. There we go. I think that's it. Has the Federation cruiser. They have fired everything they can fire this turn, so they pretty much just have to keep in a position where they can hit the Klingons from the rear. Okay, we go to the next turn, and I am going to go forward. That's all I can do. Forward. And the Klingons, I should have fired from here. Klingons can't go anywhere. Okay, we go to the next turn, and we can go even. And the Klingons are going to try to go forward. Okay. The next turn, I'm going to turn to the left and go forward, and the Klingons are going to go right, left and forward. Now there's a problem, is I'm going too fast, so that's going to create some problems. So we're going to have to go next turn, forward, or next impulse. Gosh, I always say that. My apologies to everybody. Forward. Okay. Next impulse, I'll get rid of that. Nobody can move, so that's nothing. No movement on that. Next impulse is a both guys can move. I'll try to go left and forward, and I will go left and forward. Now, I don't know if you're playing another player. I don't know whether you have to do like you say you would do in a game like Wooden Ships and Iron Men, where you would have to write down what you're doing and then simultaneously reveal that, because that would definitely affect your maneuvering. So let me know down below how that works. Okay, we go to 11, and F and F. Okay, 12. Both sides can move. I'm going to go and forward, and I'm going to go ahead one more. Put a little space here so I can turn around. Okay, and this is why, so that I can go right or left and forward. And then we go to the 14. And we're going to go forward, and he's going to turn right, the other right, and forward. 15. Let's try going right and forward. And the Federation gets to go 1, and then 16. Both sides get to go forward, and I'm going to turn or go forward. Okay, that is the end of turn 2. Let me get rid of these trails. And let's clear the movement trail. I think both guys can actually turn next turn, so that's fine. They can turn next turn. Oh, come on, show me your movement. Clear movement trail. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay. And we're going to clear this. We're going to go to change label to turn 3. And now we got to figure out energy allocation. So let's start with the Federation because this will be easier. Now the Federation we've got 16 still for our warp. I don't think we've taken any warp damage to engines. Nope. Okay. Impulse of 2, atomic of 2, total power of 20. Battery, I have 1 available, and I'm going to burn that. So we're going to use that to 0 and 1. And we're going to put 2 in here and 2 in here. Now, Photon B will be able to fire. And we're actually just using the same that we did. I think I'm going to go with, I'll stay with the 3. And that's that for those guys. Now, the Klingons, it's going to get a little trickier because of damage. My warp is now 14. My impulse is at 0, I think. Is it impulse at 0? Yeah, 0. My atomic is 0. So my total power is 14. Now, I've still got 2 batteries, which I'm going to use both. That gives me 16. My disruptors are shot. This other disruptor is shot. I can still fire a drone. And I only fired 1, so I have 2. My capacitors will carry over 2 on my energy. So there's 3. 16 minus 3 is 13. But we're going to stay at 12. Okay. So to keep my speed and everything going, I'm going to have to use just 1 battery. So I can use 1 battery, and that will give me my speed of 12 and be able to let me fire my 2 phasers, which I will do. So I can fire 2 phasers and a drone. So it's okay, and my speed here was, let me double check my speed. 14. Okay, yeah, we're same speed. So my drone, let's go ahead and, so I fire off the drone, and I'm going to fire a I can fire a rear one, I think. I still have phaser 3 here left. So I'm going to fire phaser 3 and launch my drone, and I can do that. The drone's launched. I make my fire. This is on impulse 1, and I roll, and I get a 2 at a range of 2. Yeah, a range of 2. That's 4 points of damage, and that's going to hit this shield number 2. And I want to know, do you guys, when you're playing this game, do you guys use left and right, or do you use starboard and port? That's just something I kind of wondered what was typically used in this. Okay, the Klingons have done everything. Now the Federation can fire, and I'm going to fire with 1 and 3, and I think I can use a photon because it's in FA. That's left front, right front. Yep, it's there. So I'm going to fire a photon. I'm going to fire And those are all through the rear shield. So, hold on, left front and left. That's just the right front. Okay, yeah, I can't fire that. I thought I could fire 3 phasers. Let's do that. So let's fire the photon first, and it's at a range of 2. I need a 1 to 5. I get 5. Okay, so I do 8 points of damage for the photon. Let me write that down. And then the 2 phasers at a range of 2 are going to be a roll here. 2 and 4. So a 2 is a 4 and a 4 is a 4. So 8 there. So 16 points total. Okay, let me note that I've fired those before I lose track. And that was phasers 1 and 3. Okay, phaser 1. And that was in impulse 1. And 3, impulse 1. Okay, and now we can start to do damage. Now, I went through the rear shield, which is... there is nothing left with that. So 16 points I've got to apply. So I'm going to roll this 16 times. Here, let's write these down. Okay, I got a 6, a 1, 2, 6, 6, 2, 6, 6, 4, 6, 4, and 3, 1, and then 2 more, and then another 6. 66. 5, 2, 6, 4, 4, 1. 5, 2, 6, 4, 4, 1. Okay. Now we apply all that damage. And I think this should be the end of the Klingon, but we'll see. Okay, we started with the 6, and the 6, we've already used up all the battery miscellaneous, so now we go to a weapon. And we apply a 1 point to a weapon. Let's just go with the phaser, rear phaser. Okay, and then we go to let me cross that off. We go to a 1. That's a hull point. That's it for the hulls. No, it's not. That's not it for the hull. Okay. We go to a 2. Another hull. That's it for the hulls, I think. Is that it for the holes? Yeah, there's the 4 points of the holes. So the holes are gone. Okay, we go to a 6. And are the weapons gone? Weapons are not gone. That's a phaser here. And when I forgot to launch that drone. Did I launch him? No, yeah, he's launched. Okay. 6, okay. I got the 6, and then the second, then there's another 6. And this 6 goes to the phasers are gone, disruptors are gone. That leaves the drone launcher. So the drone launcher's gone, and that's it for weapons. Okay, and then a 4. Engine. Nope, engines are still there. Engine, I've got batteries. I guess the battery should have counted as the ADRs. That's okay. Or is the battery should have counted as the energy source or engines. Okay, then another 6, and that would be another engine point. 4. 4 is a miscellaneous. I guess, I don't know, does batteries count as miscellaneous or do they count as engine? I'll count them as miscellaneous. I'll just stay with it. Yeah, there it is, right there. Derp. Okay, a 3 is an engine point. A 1 is a engine point. A 5 is a engine point. A 2 is a engine point. A 6 is an engine point. A 4 is an engine point. Another 4 is another engine point. And a 1 is another engine point. Okay, so that leaves us with 5 engines, so they can barely move. It's pretty much over, but let's see if we can get in a position to blast them out of the sky. Okay, we go to 2. Now he still gets to move. I think you still get to move at this movement rate. That's set for the turn. So okay, so both sides get to move, and the drone moves, and this guy will. I'm going to turn. Let's see, what's left for my cadet cruiser? Show data. I can use phaser 2 or I can use phaser 4. Phaser 2 is right here. That's that left phaser. Phaser 4 is right back here. So both on my left. So I need to get him on my left side. Okay. And what's my shields look like? I'll take it in the front. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn to the right, go forward, and take the shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And then we go to the next turn, and both sides can move. So we'll start with the Klingon. We'll move the Federation. And we will eliminate this guy. And whoops, I eliminated the wrong guy. Okay, there we go. We do it again. And this time the Federation is going to move to the right and forward. And at this point, Klingons can't fire anything, but I can with my Federation ship. So we're going to go, oops, show data. Now I've only got one shot, and that's my, let's see. Oh, he's in a blind spot. Okay. Let's go back, and he's actually, let's go, there we go, and there, let's go forward again. Okay, and we go to the turn 5, and this puts him here. We go to turn 6, and I'm just going to play these out without well, let's see if we can get away. I'm going to say he can try to get away. And there's impulse 6, impulse 7, and impulse 8. And let's see, impulse 9, nobody goes. Impulse 10. And then impulse 11. Okay, and then impulse 12, still get to move. And then impulse 13. Okay, so we're here, and we fire at a range of 0. I'm going to fire that phaser. Phaser 1 at a range of 0. I can do that. Or no, phaser 2. Show data. There's phaser 2 on impulse 12. And we roll. And it was a 5 at 0. So 5 points of damage. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Both sides get to go. So we'll forward them both. And then next 15, they both get to go. and they both automatically get to go. Let's see, forward both. 16, they both get to go. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, so we are at the edge of the known space here, and let's clear this, and we change the label to, this is what's cool about this game, is how exciting it gets. Okay, 14, and let's just figure our speed here. I've got 1. I have a speed of 1. So essentially, I can't move until, with the speed of 1, I cannot move until number 16. So basically, the Cadet Cruiser can recharge and fire on me with their 3 front ones. So they're going to fire with the first 3. Now, you can't do a photon from this distance. I could circle out and hit him with a photon, but we're just going to go ahead and fire all 3 of these phasers. And so let's see, at a range of 0 through the rear. I get a 6, a 6, and a 3. So 5, 10, and 16 points. So I would apply this first one. The only place I could apply this would be here, and then you do your excessive or extra damage here, 1, 2, 3, and then that would destroy the Klingon Cadet Cruiser. So the Federation would win that one. Anyway, I don't know. This is what I really like about this game. It gets pretty exciting a lot of times. This is definitely a winner. So that's what I got this week. I'll probably be doing another one of these, but not immediately. I want to work on some other games. But I will try to definitely get a Starfleet Battles scenario up every month if I can. So I'll probably finish up the Cadet ones over the next few months. Anyway, that's what I got. I really appreciate you guys watching. I appreciate all the support and the kind comments. And let me know things I can do different on this. Anything I'm not doing right, let me know so I can kind of learn the game better. And we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.